Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Josie Dumont podcast. Today, I'm joined by the wonderful Maria, who is a mindset and manifestation coach, but also my business bestie, as we met thanks to joining the same mastermind, which makes me even more excited to have you here. Welcome.
I'm really excited to be here. Thank you so much. Like, genuinely so excited. And I'm like excited for you that you've started the podcast and you're doing the do. And it's good times.
Ah, thank you so much. I literally can't wait to dive into our conversation today and to take the woo out of manifestation for all the skeptics out there so they can apply this powerful tool to see some incredible results in their life and their career and their business as well. But before we do so, please introduce yourself and tell us and everyone what they need to know about you.
Okay, amazing. So I'm Maria, and I'm a mindset manifestation coach and unconscious mind therapist. So I blend the somatics with the hypnotherapy, the mindset, the manifestation principles using my yes manifesting method that I coined. And I'm sure we'll talk about that later on. And ultimately I help female entrepreneurs grow their businesses, double their income, because I know, especially for me, like when I started my business, there was so much that came up: comparinitis, imposter syndrome, shiny object syndrome, the worthiness question came up, which isn't really even a question because it's a fact, but there's so much that comes up. And then there's the sister wound, the witch wound. We might get into all of that because I love all of that. I find that so interesting. And so now I help female entrepreneurs at various different stages of their journey. Like I've helped six-figure coaches bridge the gap between six figures and multiple six figures. I've helped coaches that are new into the world. I've helped service providers. And it's amazing. I love what I do. And it's the work that I do on myself as well every single day.
How would you describe also like your manifestation journey and how did it help you to get where you are now?
That's a good question. So I started learning to consciously manifest when I was 27. Before that, I had no idea what it is,
Mm-hmm.
even though we manifest 24/7. And so I'd come out of a very unhealthy relationship. I was depressed, although not like given the title. I'd never gone to a doctor. But you can look back and you can notice like what's come up. And I was struggling with my mental health. It's a period I call like my black hole.
Mm.
And I was like, hold on, there's got to be something different here. Like, I don't want to keep living the way I'm living because I wasn't living, I was simply surviving and barely. And a friend recommended the book The Secret. And they had said that they were in sales and they're working in sales and they were bringing like 200, 300K a year and they'd doubled their salary. And I was like, that's interesting. Let me go and look at that. Not because I wanted to double my salary at that point. I was happy
Mhm.
like the career I was in, but more like I just wanted love in my life. That was my massive thing. I just wanted love. So I got the book The Secret and I started reading it and I was like, wow, I actually have control of the way I think. And I started shifting my thoughts and I started showing up differently and
Mhm.
things just started to shift. And then I got intrigued by it and I went down the rabbit hole and I started reading the books, investing in courses, learning more about it, and then practicing it in my life, because you can read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, and nothing changes
Yes.
unless you do the do. And that's why I know what you do and what I do is so important, because having that accountability, having that support is so important. Like I have the support in like mentors and coaches because I know that I need it too. In fact, I think everyone needs it, but not everyone knows that they need it.
That's very true. In your journey, what do you think was like your biggest challenge or limiting belief that you had to overcome, and how did you do it?
Oh, that's been different in different parts of my journey. I
Mhm.
think the core one was, am I lovable? Um,
Mm.
and that came from like that unhealthy relationship. And when that ended, and I didn't end that, like they ended it, even though I should have walked away many times, but I was so scared. And I look back in hindsight and I think, girl, you should have just walked out. And
Mhm.
that's why I have a lot of empathy for people that don't, because sometimes it's really difficult. And there was nothing stopping me from leaving, but apart from my mind was saying, like, if you leave, you will be alone forever, like no one will love you. And then how are you going to fend for yourself? And then you'll have to live at home forever. And then everyone will think you're a loser. And this is what the mind does. And it runs off in a rabbit hole. And suddenly your mind is literally like, danger, danger, you're going to die if you leave them. And that's not
Yes.
the case at all. And so after I kind of left that relationship, they came back to me at one point and they was like, yes, let's live together. And I was like, no. no, but this is not going to happen. Like, not at all. I think we're just a different stage of our life. We are completely different people. There was a lot of lies, a lot of like toxicity. I think that's the word. If not, I'm making it
Mhm.
up. And life was just so different from us. And I think at that point when I started like my manifesting journey, it was like, I need to learn to love myself, because if I don't love myself, no one is going to love me the way I want to be loved. And I'm going to attract the same people.
Mhm.
And you give out this kind of desperate energy as well without even realizing it. And that's why some people in relationships end up going, they're dating different people, but exactly the same person. And there's two reasons for that. One, it could come from childhood and what you've seen as you've grown up. That
Mhm.
wasn't the case for me. Um, and two, it can be that there is this fear of like, you're not lovable or you're unworthy. So you kind of stick and settle for something, even though it's not making you happy. And so that's where kind of the journey began. And that was the biggest wound
Mm.
that I had to really, really work through. And then when I started my business, which was last year, I thought I had healed, but healing is not linear. And everything that I thought I had healed come up to play again. And I look back now, I met a friend at the weekend, and I look back at last year and I can see the same tendencies that I had. I'm 33 now, that when I was 27. And I think I was
Mhm.
in a kind of depressive state because I had so many changes last year and there was just so much to handle, that everything people tell you not to do in your business, I did it all, which I don't regret because I think it's made me a much better coach now. But also on the online space, and I don't know if you can resonate with this, everyone tells you you're doing everything wrong. Like people's
Yes.
marketing is so good that I was like, when I first started, I just felt a little bit broken. And I know that I wasn't broken. I was like, my content is rubbish. This is rubbish. This is rubbish. This is rubbish. And I was like,
Mm.
am I just a rubbish person? And so I can understand how teenage girls and teenage boys go on these apps and stuff. And if they're not careful, can get sucked into a world, because I definitely got sucked into it. And that was another journey. Like that just brought back, it didn't bring up anything new. It just brought back everything
Mhm.
that I'd already felt. And
So
so
it
I
triggered
believe,
you.
yeah, 100%. I don't believe in like new level, new devil. I think new level is the same devil, but it's going to come back like bigger.
Yes.
And so I don't know. I'd love to know as well about your business journey. Like, did anything come up for you when you first started your business journey, and did it link to anything in the past?
Oh yeah, big times. I think the biggest limiting belief I had to work through, or that is still coming up at times, is definitely the critic and thinking like, is it good enough? Am I good enough? And it really takes me a lot of conscious effort to detach my worth from anything else, like any outcomes and stuff, and just be like, I still love myself, even if I maybe don't sign 100 clients or whatever it is. And I feel like one of the best things I have done was to distance myself not only from negative people and situations, but also to be really careful with the content I consume myself on Instagram. So I'm literally very, very selective. I only have a specific time window every day where I go into the app. And I decluttered, like just this weekend, I decluttered my email. So I was like unsubscribing so many people. I was just like, I don't want any more external influence. And I felt like that has really helped me as one key step to reconnect to my self-worth and just enjoying the process as well. Because if I wouldn't have done that, like you say, I would just like constantly compare and think I'm not good enough. And literally, like the other day when I was speaking to another guest, she was also like saying, if you go out there in the space, you will literally be told like you're broken, you're not a full person. So yeah, totally relate to that.
No, and I love that, because I think what you said there is it's about the internal. And it
Yes.
so is like when it comes to content creation, right? I do think there is a strategy element to it, but hey, what do you want to say? Like, what is your heart wanting to say? And when you let all these external influences like seep into your soul, you forget who you are, you forget what you want to say.
Mm.
And it's actually really easy to do. And so I think when you connect with yourself and you start to do the healing, and this is what I think about manifesting, I think manifesting is healing.
Mm.
To bring a thought into reality and to make it come to fruition, creating your vivid vision is not always hard for a lot of people. People know what they want, and if they don't, it's normally because their nervous system is dysregulated. And then embodying the person who you have to be to make that vision a reality. Now, that is the hardest part. It's not the strategy piece and, oh, I need a strategy for this, 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 this.
Mm.
Of course you do, and I believe strategy is so important. But are you being that person? Are you showing up how you want to show up? And if not, like, what could you do? But to me, this is where the healing piece comes in. And this is where, like, learning who you are, learning the different parts of you, feeling safe to manifest. And that's kind of the work that I really do now, is that piece of healing, of recognizing your trauma cycles and
Mm.
then starting to release them and making sure you're embracing the feelings. And that's the part that I love, because I think that's the part that gets people stuck, when really there is no stuckness there. It's simply your mind telling you you're stuck, which creates a stuckness. And if you can release it, which every single person can release it if you choose to release it, that's the work though. That's the
Mm.
manifesting comes in. And that is the healing part, is the work.
Mm, absolutely. To sum that up, it's almost like just releasing those old systems and patterns and healing those parts so you can replace them with something that's like more of service to you, that is aligned with your goals and where you want to be. And that's actually manifestation. Like when you then heal that part, that's like step number one. And then you take the action to get to those goals. But just taking action without having healed this part, as you said before, like we'll repeat these cycles that just bring up those old devils again and again and again. And yeah, I feel like that's kind of like how the beginning process of it works. But do you think like there's some other, maybe some misunderstandings or misconceptions about manifesting that you have experienced, also maybe with clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think you're totally right with the action piece. And you can be healing and still take action. Like, just because you're healing, you don't want to be spending 100 hours journaling and not actually taking action in your business, because you're not going to move
Yes.
anywhere. And sometimes all you see online is like journal, journal, journal. And journaling is great. I'm not denying that journaling is great, but you still need to take the action, because actually it's in the action and the courage to take the action to put yourself
Mm.
out there that you will realize, hold on, I can do this. And then you'll start to see more results. Like, sitting, hoping and wishing, you're never going to see the results. And so I think I love the woo of manifesting. I love the spiritual side of manifesting.
Hmm.
I think it's really powerful. But actually, the spiritual side of manifesting, there's so much science. And I won't bore you with all the details, but just a couple of the scientific things in manifesting: creating habits. It's going to shift your identity. You show up as the person before you've got it. That's completely science. When you think about changing like your thought patterns and your feelings, you cannot think how you do not feel, and the feeling is the language of the subconscious mind. So visualization every morning, every evening, that's science. You close your eyes, you visualize your vision, you see it and you feel it. If you don't feel it, it's not going to happen. So you feel it, you communicate with your subconscious mind, hey, this is happening, because it doesn't know the difference between real or not. And so the more you do it, the more you start to show up for yourself and act as if it's normal. And then you start to become the person. That's science. Journaling can help as well in rewriting some of the beliefs. But when you
Hmm.
journal, you're doing it from your conscious mind. So if you can meditate first and then journal after, I find that more effective, because when you meditate, you go from beta alpha to theta brainwave state. And when you're in theta brainwave state, you communicate with your subconscious mind.
Mm.
People get so scared of meditation. And I think it's because they don't want to sit with their thoughts. But the more you do it, the thoughts just disappear, and you just are. And then you become, there's so many different levels of meditation. The more you get used to it, you become this, like, the consciousness that then, imagine like this consciousness like floating outside of your body. There's no identity, there's no nothing. There's no time. Like, you're just being, like literally being. And that's when you start to enter the quantum field. The quantum field is science. And so this is the part where people believe that this element is more of the woo, but it is
Hmm.
science. And as you start to leave that and you start to see like images and like kind of loads of different shapes, I see kaleidoscopes. These are messages being sent to you from like the magnetic field around you. And as you start to open your heart, you start to experience things differently. but it's simply science. And Joe Dispenza is incredible
Mhm.
in explaining it. Some of the science, as he goes into it, I'm there with my notepad like, okay, let me catch up. But
Yes, I literally have one of his books in the background. Like, he's amazing the way he explains it.
but it's science, because he's very
Yes.
science based, and it's science. And what's really interesting, right, is think about religion. People believe in God. They've never seen God, but they believe in God. So if you
Mm.
can believe in God, and I am spiritual and I am religious, I do believe in God, but I personally don't believe you need to be in a building to worship God. God's everywhere. He's omnipresent. Like, you can pray to him anywhere. And so if you can believe in like this outer power that you've never seen, source, whatever you want to call it, you can believe in yourself. You can believe that you can do it. Because I believe that, like, we are all born and there's no conveyor belt, and God is not going, you're worthy, you're not worthy, you're worthy, or adding sourceive like you prefer to.
Yes.
You are worthy because you are. And you have got this desire because it's been given to you, because it is meant for you. And so when times get hard, remind yourself of your why and be like, I am doing this because I am doing this and I know it's going to happen for me. Source, God, spirit, whatever you want to use, is there protecting you. They're co-creating with you. They are. Have you ever seen? There's a beautiful there's a man walking. It's like I think it's not from the Bible, but and it's like, when I was in my darkest times, this is when you carried me. And it's about
Mm.
being carried by being carried by God. And
Mhm.
again, adding soul, spirit, whatever you want to add in. And I think that's true. Like, there are going to be times that are more challenging, but you in some way need to learn that lesson to be able to get to where you want to get. And so I think manifesting, there's so much science in it, but there's also the belief part, which is what people call the woo-woo part, is the
Mhm.
spirit part, believing in a higher power. But that's also science, because it's the quantum field, and the quantum field has been proved through science to be true. So merge both together, and that's kind of manifesting.
Absolutely.
And what do you think about it? Do you think, because I love the woo-woo,
Mm.
but I also love the do part and the take action part, and you can make it happen part if you take the action.
It's same for me. I'm a big woo-woo lover. However, I'm like absolutely not religious. So for me, it's more like an understanding of everything and anything is energy. Like, literally, the table, I am, you are, the camera, everything around us, the air we breathe, it's all energy and it's all connected. So for me, it just like makes so much sense. If everything is connected, then my thoughts are energy as well. And I strongly believe like thoughts create reality. So it is kind of like a manifesting thing. And it's for me more about, if I foster this like strong self-belief, it's a vibration, right? And vibration is also energy. It's a message. And if you vibrate that outwards, then that's what you attract. So that's why I'm also a big supporter of fostering a positive mindset, because I don't want to be miserable as fuck all the time. Like,
Mm.
but if I am in that mind state, or if I keep myself in that mind state, then I will attract more of that negativity towards me. Like, if I would be complaining all the time, or if I would say, oh, I don't have any money all the time, or everything is shit all the time, then of course everything will be shit all the time. It's just as simple as that. And that's because of the energy, because it responds to another. And I feel like thoughts just have like such a massive power over that. And I first realized that when I was actually like really young. And yeah, back then, like with almost like suicidal thoughts and everything, my thoughts, like my belief, were that thing that actually first obviously got me into the place, but also got me back out of it, because I was like, no, I'm stronger than this. I can get out of this. I can do this. And I kept on focusing on the good stuff in my life, and that just kept me going. And it's same with burnout as well. Obviously, part of it is the workload, but I always say 50% is also your mindset, right? So if you keep on saying it's too hard, it's too much work to do, I can't handle all of that, then of course it will be harder for you to get out. But if you start on focusing on other thoughts where you say to yourself, for example, I am capable, I can do this, let's do one thing after the other, but also obviously then take the action to get yourself out there and say, well, let's reduce work time, let's put self-care first, and then step by step work towards one, replenishing your energy, and then also overhauling basically your mindset so you can get out of it. That's also a form of manifestation for me.
I love that. And I think that's really important. And I would say though, and I know I feel like you would agree with this, like there will be days that are not great days. And
Yes.
it's okay to experience all the emotions, like positive, like trying to force yourself to be positive is just not the one. So when
Yes.
you're sad, like don't push it down, like let yourself cry, let yourself experience it, and then allow it to release from the body. And I really am into somatic work. I really like movement, and it feels
Hmm.
weird as anything when you first start doing it. But something like if you're listening to this and you're feeling sad or you're feeling stressed, like something you could just do in your own time is allow yourself to move as if you're the emotion. So, say you experience sadness, how would sadness move in your body? And allow yourself to move like that. Would it be
Hmm.
small? Would it be big? How would it speak? Like, how would you breathe? And you just give yourself maybe like 5 minutes just to move like that emotion, just experience it, let it be in your body, and then listen to what it's trying to tell you because it will try and tell you something.
Yes.
And then once you've kind of listened to it and said to it, like, what are you trying to tell me? Like, what can you then do for that? If it's saying to you, like, I just want to be left alone, then you would literally say to the sadness, like, so what can I do to support you? And I know it sounds crazy if you're not into this world or you haven't tried it before, but it works. Your body will speak to you, your body will say back what it wants. And then embrace the opposite of that emotion. So say it's sadness, maybe it's happiness or contentment. So then imagine, right, if I was content, how would I move? And maybe you're like flying free like a bird,
Hmm.
and allow your body to move in that way. Do it for 5 minutes. What is it saying to you? Like, this is where you start to check in with your body because your body is holding the score. Your body is your unconscious mind. And so when you can start to change the sadness through your body into like excitement or happiness or contentment, that's when you expand your container for more. That's when you start to really release things through the body. And there's so many types of somatic work. Like yoga done in a particular way can be very somatic, especially hip
Hmm.
movements, because that's where a lot of trauma is stored in the hips. And that's why if you go to a yoga class and you're doing, like I say, frog pose, you might start crying. And that is because there's trauma and there's stuff stored in your hips. And yoga can be really powerful in releasing things if done in a particular way. The same with moving your body, it's a type of somatic work. Eye movement can be a type of somatic work. People do
Hmm.
things in different ways, but ultimately check in with your body. Like your body knows, and you manifest through both your mind and your body. And I think when you start to release from your body, it naturally helps like the thoughts that you're feeling, the thoughts that you're thinking, and
Yes.
like the feels you're feeling. Because yes, to me, your thoughts obviously hold a lot of power, but I think your feelings are so powerful. And like, how can you be
Mm.
feeling sad and be like, I'm so happy, I'm so happy? I tried this before many a time. And I'm like, I don't feel happy.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. That's like lying to yourself. And which is why it's, as you say, like so important to first like acknowledge the emotion, right? And then let it out. And I feel like one big problem nowadays is that people just don't know how else to describe their feelings compared to just sad or good or bad. But there are like so many more emotions, right? That you can feel like grief or hatred, frustration, anger. And something that really helped me, for example, as well, was to just learn that vocabulary and name it, name the exact emotion I'm feeling in that moment, because then I know what this is telling me even better than just being like, I feel bad, but yeah, nothing I can do about it. So just naming it properly has made a big difference as well.
100%. And Abraham Hicks has this scale, and it's sort of based on what the emotions you've said. And as you move up the emotional scale, you will find that grief is one of the lowest emotions. You're not going to go from grief to joy, are you? Like it just doesn't happen. But step by step by step, you start to move up it. And so hate is above grief. So when you're feeling hate,
Hmm.
that's good. You know you're moving up the emotional scale. When you get to anger, that's good. You know you're moving up the emotional scale. And I love what you said there because I think it's so true. like bit by bit by bit, like really focus on what am I actually feeling. And it's okay to feel it. And you
Yes.
don't have to be brave. And like, I know when I struggled with my mental health, I didn't talk to anyone at the time
Mm.
because I saw it as a weakness. And I think now there is a stigma still in society about mental
Yeah.
health. And especially in particular jobs, that if you admit to it, you'll be seen as weak. But I think that's completely wrong. And this is where you have to get the help that you need, get the support that you need, and do it in whatever way you want. So maybe for some people, I know we're both UK based, maybe they want to go through the NHS to get it. They want to go to the doctor to get it. Great, go and do that. Maybe for other people, they're like, I want to go for the more holistic option. And so
Mm-hmm.
they would come to me or they would come to you and they would work on it that way. And so there's so many options out there that are so different now. There's a more like scientific medicine route, and then there's the kind of the holistic wellness industry where it is slightly different. And so don't sit in the shadows and be like, no one will help me. Because I wish I'd known that there were people out there that could have helped me and I would have invested in
Yes.
them and got the support that I needed at the time. But at that point in my life, I didn't know there was.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be a root cause to it. And it's getting to that root cause. So
Mm.
for example, like say if you are in like the corporate world and there's a lot of work coming in and you're not doing as well with the work as maybe you want to. The issue is not necessarily the work. The issue might go back to childhood where you were told you were not good enough. And
Mm-hmm.
now suddenly your boss is saying you're not good enough. And that is triggering a wound. And so if you could release the original core root of it and you could release the pain, you might be in a different position where you think, actually, I'm not getting on with my boss. This isn't working. Let me get another job. Or it might be like, actually, I'm going to do the work I can do. And I'm going to set a boundary and say, I've done this. I've worked really hard at this, but I haven't been able to get this finished. I'll start this
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow. And just very politely, because I don't think there's need to be rude, like set your boundaries. But the root is the childhood. The root is maybe something in teenage years, because it's not always coming from childhood for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
If you can release the root and the pain of the root cause, that is when like things will change. Because I think we've got a lot of children walking around in adults' bodies because no one has ever taken the time to heal their inner child or to
Mm-hmm.
even know what an inner child is. And that's why when you react in a certain way, when you're triggered by something, your inner child is coming out to play. Some people get angry, some people cry. Like
Yes.
it happens in different ways. My inner child likes to cry a lot. And we've worked on that. We cry less now. But it's interesting how this part of you just needs literally all you it's just say to it how you're safe. Like, I've got you, I've got your back, I'm gonna look after you. But it's having this relationship with it. And I guess if you're unaware of like that element of like life, you would be like, these women are cooking, like what are they talking about? But I think in business as well, what's stopping you hitting the next level is nothing to do with you being capable or your strategy not working. It's actually an event that happened when you were 5 years old that is stopping you now from moving up because you're so scared of being visible
Mm.
that you like hold yourself back. And so
Yeah.
yeah, I agree with what you've said. I've gone off on a tangent. I love a tangent.
No, that's totally fine. It's actually also like a good example that you just mentioned. What kind of like advice would you maybe give them? Like 3 specific do's for them to implement or walk away after listening to this episode so they can work on healing their inner wounds and start implementing like a manifestation practice that can help them to get to that level in their business they want to get to.
The first thing is become self-aware. Like become self-aware of where you are and what's going on. You don't need to invest in anything for that. You can literally just tune into your body, journal things down, write things down, listen to yourself. The second thing I would
Mm-hmm.
say is slow down.
Mm,
I'm not saying don't take
I love
action, not
that.
at all. I'm saying I love meditation, but it doesn't have to be sitting in a seat or laying on your bed. Go for a walk in nature with your dogs. That is meditation. Listen to the birds singing, notice your feet on the ground. And a lot of people avoid doing this because they feel it's going to be uncomfortable because they are literally with themselves. But if you're out in nature, you're watching your dogs anyway. So as you're watching them, just notice. Notice
Mm-hmm.
what comes up. Notice, are your shoulders up? Are your shoulders relaxed? Does your jaw feel tight? If so, you've got cortisol running into your jaw because fight, flight, it will go to your jaw, anger. So try and see if you can relax that.
Mm-hmm.
And meditation can mean different things. then maybe you get to a stage where you can sit down for 5 minutes and you simply start listening to some music or a guided meditation or an inner child healing meditation if that feels good for you. But I would say slowing down and meditating is the second step, or being mindful as you go for a meditative walk. And then the first step, I would say, like, what support do you need? And become aware there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Like, what support do you need in your business to move you forward? Is it that you actually do need a strategy because you're just throwing spaghetti against the wall and you have no idea what's going on? Then go and find someone that's going to help you with the strategy. Is it that strategy though? Is it specifically content? Find someone for content. Is it specifically, like, get specific on what you need help with? Not, I'm just going to go and find this one person that does everything. No, be specific. What do you need help with? Or is it actually that, hey, I've got this strategy. I know exactly what I'm doing, but I just don't believe I can do it. And every time I go to do it, I'm procrastinating. That's not because you're lazy, it's because you're scared of something. And then just become aware and then invest in the person that you feel will be able to support you. And when you make a decision like that, it's going to feel scary. You're going to feel fear. That doesn't mean it's wrong, but it will feel expansive in your heart. Like, you will just know, and you will feel that person will be able to help you. However, I've made very poor decisions in the past, and it's come from desperate energy. I wanted and needed something. So I've, like, invested in things that have not served me.
Yeah.
But I am very aware that I'm mirroring that energy out. Like, I think I've told you this before, but when the first part of my coaching journey, I invested in this program, and on the sales call, they asked me to remortgage my house so that I could pay for it. What the giddy, what the hell? Remortgage my house? I'm not remortgaging my house. Like, that's not going to happen.
That's just crazy.
And I don't think this was an American company, and I'm not going to name names, but in the UK, I just don't think people would say that at all. I don't think we are in the UK. People don't talk about money. I've learned that. I don't know if you agree. Like, money is like a no-go topic, whereas I think actually we should talk more about money. But I signed up to that program despite them doing that. And now alarm bells would be ringing. I'd be like, absolutely not, walk away. But I came from this energy of, like, maybe this is normal. I didn't know any better. I was new to the industry, and I was kind of desperate to, like, work on myself. So don't feel like, if anyone is trying to pressure you into buying something and you feel this, like, constriction in your heart and you feel like pressure, they're not the one. Walk away. You should never feel bad about buying something. It should feel expansive. It will feel scary. And once you've paid, you may be like, oh, but you should feel expansive because they're there to support you. And if you don't feel like they're supporting you, that's the wrong decision. However, they are not your savior. They are not going to save you. You have to take the action. You need to do the do. So that long ramble, 3 things. 1, become self-aware of what's going on in the body. 2, meditate, because then you'll tune into your body more and you will work out what's actually going on for you. And 3 is invest and get the support that you feel that you need. Maybe it's a coach, maybe it's a coach therapist, maybe you want to go into talk therapy. Like, you pick and choose what you want to do, but you do it. And it has to feel expansive, although it can feel scary. And I would say they're the 3 things. And naturally, by doing that, you're going to start your manifesting journey because you're saying yes to yourself. And when your subconscious mind hears you say yes to yourself, it gets excited and you'll start to see the changes you need.
Exactly. And it's literally as simple as that. There's not that much woo about it. It's literally just get self-aware, get to know yourself, slow down, and then do the do.
Absolutely. And I do, like, when I put out my content, I do pray, which I know not everyone does, but I do, in that element, I do, like, I know my content is going to touch whoever it's going to touch. I believe it's going to help them. And I do ask, like, God, the universe, source for support. And I guess that element is the woo-woo element. But I think if that's not for you and you're like, hey, I'm not interested in that, you're absolutely right what you said. Like, it is so much science, then blend in a little bit of the belief, and you got a beautiful blend there.
Exactly. I feel like that sums it up perfectly. But before we wrap up the episode, I want to ask you, like, a little fire round of questions if you're up for it.
Okay, absolutely. I like to talk.
So these questions are designed so you can answer them with 1 word or maximum 1 short sentence.
Okay, I'll try and keep it in.
Before we start, Please tell me a number between 1 to 10.
10.
Ooh, okay. You're the first one who said 10. Right. What is the Maria way of living and leading your best life?
Oh, my best life, peace, internal peace.
Internal peace. Love that. When shit hits the fan, what do you tell yourself to get through it?
I take my dogs for a walk and it always solves everything.
What is your key habit for success?
Oh, good one. I like tapping.
What favorite book would you recommend to everyone?
Oh, that's a hard one. On the spot. I'm gonna say let's just go for something simple like the magic. It's a gratitude practice.
Mhm.
It's a really good book.
What advice would you love to give the listeners next to what you have already said?
Business advice. Have fun. Have
Mhm.
fun because fun is gonna grow your business. Being stressed is gonna make you miserable and ill.
And what is the theme song of your life?
That's a really good one. I like Lady Gaga, Poker Face.
That's a good song.
I love Lady Gaga at
Yes.
uni. She just ignited something in me like this,
Mhm.
the alter ego. Lady Gaga always.
Her journey is also super inspiring. What is your main takeaway from today?
I've loved today. I love talking to you. Is I feel like the road is not always the road to anything, like to healing, to like
Mm.
business, to life is not linear. Expect the ups and downs, embrace them.
Mhm.
And I know like we met on our journey and we've become amazing friends. And just have fun, just have more fun and connect with your friends and talk to them as well. Like they are there to support you.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important. Like don't try and do it alone. People will support you. And if you've got limiting beliefs around help, like start working through them.
Couldn't agree more. What is one thing you want to unlearn?
Oh, good one. I can't answer this shortly. I'll try and do it. I think the biggest belief that I have unlearned recently, and this has come from school, was that I thought that women would be mean to me when I put myself online, and
Yes.
that was a massive thing. So I went to an all-girls school. The girls were really mean. And I have unlearned that and I provided my brain with evidence. Like at the weekends, I went to a beautiful meetup and the women were so supportive and incredible and amazing. And I provide my brain with more evidence of that all the time. So I'm putting myself out there to meet more women and to like build my own community, but while doing it, like be part of other people's community.
Mhm.
Because women supporting women is like, it's everything.
It really is. That's also literally why I do what I do to uplift and empower other women, because I truly believe that if women are empowered and they just focus on themselves and we get rid of all of this jealousy and comparison and judgment and all of that shit, like this world truly will be a better place. And women can do amazing things, like literally amazing things. So imagine a world where everybody just like supports another and does their magic. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
I love that.
What is your one word intention for this year?
Oh, that's a good question. It's peace. It's all about peace.
Mhm.
Like for me, internal peace and have peace and fun. I have two, peace and fun.
I love that. And last one, what job would you do in an alternate universe?
I would do what I'm doing now because I left a 7-year career where I was the head of department
Mhm.
in history to do what I'm doing now. And I don't know why I did it at first. Like it was so random, but I feel like it is. I come into the healing world and I believe like it's a gift that is meant for me. So I would do what I'm doing now.
Mm.
And maybe perform on stage as well. I always wanted to be a West End star.
Yes, why not? Well, that's it. You literally did it. And this wraps up the episode. Thank you so much for joining. And also for all of the listeners, if you want to get in touch with the wonderful Maria, then the link and everything will be in the description box below. So definitely do check her out and show her some love. And is there any like last words from your end that you want to put out there in order to feel complete?
Just remember that, like, if you want to manifest, you've got to take the action. Action takers are manifestation makers. So just keep taking the action, even if it's scary. Embody your courageous, like, element.
That's so true. I always say action takers are change makers.
Yeah, that one too. A little bit of a bit of poetry there.
Yeah, literally. Right. Thank you so much, and see you all next week with another episode. Bye.
Bye. Okay. They bark at the window. So she literally sits at the window and she watches for people coming past. And as they come past, she barks at them.